Alright, as you guys can tell by the title of this video, we are doing a draft analysis today. It is for PEBA Season 4, and before I get into anything in this video, it is mandatory for you guys to know that this draft is kind of wild. A lot of things happened on almost every single pick, and as I get through this video, I will be breaking down what happened. It is just a crazy draft overall, and it's a really good one, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But again, a lot has happened, and this is going to be PEBA Season 4, our home league. It's back for the year. I love PEBA. It's definitely my favorite league I've ever been a part of. It was basically the OG league, and not including the URL and Gen 6. So I'm really excited to be a part of this. I am a committee member this time, as I was last season, so that's really exciting. We put in a lot of work and effort into making this season happen. Elliot is the one who runs it. Aquarius put a lot of work in. Troy and Nico helped out a bit as well. So big shouts to all the committee members for that. I want to explain the rules to you guys, as this was a part of what we did. This is a National Dex format, but we are not using snapped moves. So Hidden Power, Pursuit, Return, not allowed. We are using Dynamax, and that's the big gimmick about this season. Last season we had like higher tier mons, like we had like an Arceus Ice allowed. But this time we're not doing that. We're just going to do standard tiers, but we did a vote on like what mons can Dynamax and which ones cannot, depending on how we felt about them. And that is the big thing about this season. Everybody is required to get one, and we are not doing Z moves, and we are doing Megas, so that's the way we decided to go in the end. And those are just the rules and rundown of how this league is going to go this season, just so you guys have a little bit of background information. The coaches on the season, they are on screen. We have a lot of returning coaches, like a lot of them. There's only like 4 new coaches at most, maybe 5. But everybody else is returning. This includes the Season 4 champion Aquarius. And over here, we really hope that Aquarius doesn't win the championship because, you know, I want to win. It would be nice if I could do that, but it's really exciting. We have a few people uploading, including Aquarius. I know Hanny's also recording as well, so if you guys want to go check out some other PEBA content, I highly recommend you go check out their channels. I'm going to try and remember to leave their links in the description below. And I'm going to talk about the draft order before we get into the actual draft. Let me tell you guys, in Season 2, I got 17th of 18th in the draft order. Last season, I was the wheel at 16 of 16, and now this season, I have 15 of 16. Like, what the hell is going on in this league when it comes to my draft order? Like, they just want me last all the time. I don't know what's going on. I was not really happy about it. But, hey, luckily, I did have a core in mind, and being the close to the wheel pick kind of helped out in that sense. So it isn't all bad in some scenarios. But anyway, that is just a quick introduction of this video. Let's start looking into this PEBA team. We're going to start off strong here. I used to build around Megas in my early draft career, and in this particular draft, it's going to be no different. I was looking at a few I haven't used before, namely Pidgeot, Gyarados, and Aggron. And BFO just ended, and one thing that I learned was that having a mon that could trade 1-for-1 is really valuable to have. So out of those 3 Megas, it was pretty obvious. For our round 1 pick, we picked up Mega Aggron. Mega Aggron is a Mega I've never used before. It's kind of a weird round 1 pick, to be honest. I would think it's pretty early, but I have seen Mega Aggron in history go early a lot more than like not, and it's pretty shocking. But it was definitely not getting to me round 3, so I decided to pick it up here. Pure Steel type is a really good type to have, and having reliable rocks early is always nice, so I don't have to always fill in that niche a little bit later. And the good thing about this mon is that I'm building around it, so it can be offensive or defensive. And as I get through this draft, you guys are going to notice that this is the one thing I think I built around really nicely as Mega Aggron. Though naturally I'm going to want to be defensive just because that's how Mega Aggron is. It's not always going to be forcing that to that position, because 140 attack is really solid on this Pokemon. Filter is a great ability to have, so I'm not getting OHKO'd by basically anything unless it's boosted, of course. And then the coverage on this Pokemon is absolutely insane. But as Mega Aggron is my round 1 pick. I do like Mega Aggron a lot. I think it's a really good Mega for a mid-tier, even though it's a round 1 picking it up. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but we're going to go with it. I think I'm going to enjoy it. That is round 1. So the wheel goes by, and now it's my pick again. Only 3 picks later. I'm looking at a dragon and fairies because I want to fit that core, right? And I'm looking at 2 dragons, Kyurem and Dragonite, and I'm looking at a fairy and Tapu Fini. The problem is, if I pick one, I know damn well I'm not getting the other. So I took a while deciding which one I was going to pick up, and I really thought about it. And as you guys seen in my draft history, especially recently, I've been really good with spammable ice types. So I went the Kyurem route. I decided to pick up Kyurem. It does cover the dragon typing that fits the core there. It's a special attacker, which was really something I was aiming for, but can also be both because Kyurem got buffed as hell this gen. It gets Dragon Dance, Icicle Spear, and Freeze Dry now, which are all amazing additions to its move pool here. It's also very bulky as well. Not as bulky as Mega Aragon, just because it's an ice type solely. But dragon typing kind of covers that as being an okay defensive typing in the end. I do have a little bit of a fighting weakness building up here, but I think Kyurem is a really good addition because ice type, again, I really love it as a spammable type, and I think I can put in a lot of work with it. Not the biggest fan of high tier dragons, but I think it's going to work out in this case. This is nicknamed Esdeath for Shay because he names that Esdeath, and I don't know what that means. It's probably an anime reference I don't get. And he nicknames his Slazzle Galate 74, so a little bit of like that there. But we'll see what happens with our next pick, and we're going to move on to round 3. As I had mentioned, I did not think I was going to get Tapu Fini on the way back, and Bidoof does end up picking Tapu Fini. He is building around a Kyurem Black, so it makes perfect sense that he would draft that. So that happens. I was bummed, but I wasn't too shocked about it. Coming for round 3 now, I'm realizing that I need a fighting switch in, of course, and I'm a big fan of fire types. And I know not many people draft high tier fire types. And you always know how in one draft, there's always that like one high tier mon that just doesn't get drafted. It varies from each draft. I'm looking at it, and I think Victini's not going to get drafted. Bidoof comes around and picks up Victini. I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. And I woke up to that, and I was like pissed off about it. So we pick up Tapu Bulu. I know that's completely different, but I was looking at it, and I was thinking I could get Victini in a low tier grass type. But now that Victini's gone, I was kind of forced to pick the high tier grass type that could switch into fighting types. So Bulu is here. I've never used Bulu before. I think it's still good for the team because grassy terrain really does help out Mega Aggron's ground weakness a bit. And that's going to be really helpful there. Even though terrain was nerfed a little bit, Tapu Bulu hits hard, man. This thing hits insanely hard for no reason. I remember last gen when before terrain was nerfed, I think Woodhammer did like 60 to my Salazzle if it was Choice Banded in the terrain. It was just some whack thing. And I know Salazzle's frail, but like, holy shit. It's really strong. This is a good stall breaker just because it has a lot of moves that stop stall, like Toxic, Taunt, Leech Seed, Sub. I could run a bulky set because Tapu Bulu is fairly bulky. And that's just, again, Tapu Bulu, I think it's good for the team. It didn't have to be here, but now that I didn't have any other thing to spend a high tier, might as well pick it up. This is my Fairy on the team. I never really thought Fairy was the most mandatory type in the entire world, so I guess here it is. It's my fighting switch in, so that's why it helps. But otherwise, it's Tapu Bulu. It's another physical attacker. It's here on the team, and it's our round 3 pick. We're back around the wheel again, and I was going to hold off on my next pick, but I realized that everyone and their mother picked up a water type in round 3, and I felt like if I held off on mine and I got taken, I would have been really screwed up. So I decided just to pick it up now and get it over with. It is Slowking. Slowking is the first mon on the team I have used before, and I only used it for half a season in PCP, and I enjoyed it there quite a lot. Slowbro was taken by Aquarius, who at this point I started to realize had a similar-ish draft plan as me. Not as similar as Bidoof, but like in the sense that we were picking up mons kind of at the same rate. So that was a little bit scary and alarming, but Slowking luckily fit my team more than Slowbro, so I'm not too mad about that. Teleport regen is going to be really good this generation. I feel like it's going to fit this team very well. And this thing just does a lot. It has really good coverage, it has good recovery, it has Nasty Plot and Calm Mind, so I can go offensive or stay bulky. It's a good AV user. It has a bunch of different sets that are really good. It's a water type. There's not too much else to say about it except that it's a bulky water. And to wrap up our first 4 picks, we have Mega Aggron, Kyurem, Tapu Bulu, and Slowking. So that's our team so far. It's looking pretty interesting. I have like no speed on this and no hazard control, so we're going to start looking towards that next. The team I have built up so far isn't crazy weak to rocks or any sort of hazard, but looking at the rest of the plan I started building up, I think getting removal will be pretty important here. I wanted a mon that is good at removing, and I was looking at one in the mid tiers, and I was really shocked it actually ended up getting to me just because I think this thing is really good. And it is Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is our 5th pick. This is another mon I've used before, and also in the PCP. I use this for the full season though, and let me tell you guys, I enjoyed this thing a lot. This thing has utility out of the ass. Defog plus Heavy Duty Boots is a big positive for this Pokemon. And while some walls do rely on typing to help out for its defensive capabilities, Mandibuzz is just sheer bulk. And I know Mega Aggron already is sheer bulk as well, but having another mon be that, it just really helps out my team quite a bit here. And I did learn by the end of this draft that Kenneth was actually going to pick up Mandibuzz and last second picked up Crobat instead, like the round before. So I'm just thinking how our teams would have been different if he picked up Manabuzz and I picked up Crobat. Because most likely, if Manabuzz was gone, I would have picked up Crobat, because I think Crobat is still good on this team as well. But hey, we have Manabuzz. I really like this thing a lot. I think it's a good Pokemon. It is our round 5 pick, and now we have good removal. Okay, so now it's like midnight, right? And I don't sleep. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to pick up next. It's either going to be my electric or ground type, depending on what I think is important for the team. I still have a lot of points because I didn't pick up Victini, and I was looking at the electric types, and a lot of the mid-tier ones are pretty bad because hidden power is not allowed. So I'm looking at high tiers, and both Thunder's forms are still around. I don't really want an Ice and Rock weakness, but it's not the worst thing in the entire world. Not even kidding, I think 2 hours later, Aquarius messages me and is like, oh hey, what Thunder's form do you recommend? And I'm just like, oh, you want a Thunderous, don't you? And yeah, they end up picking up Thunder's form. But luckily, Aquarius did kind of shift my direction to something else, and it was a mid-tier electric that I think is actually really good. I just kind of forgot about it. It is Heliolisk. So I pick up Heliolisk. I decided to go that route because I'd rather have the ground weakness because I have grassy terrain, even though it doesn't really matter because they're both frail. The speed tier is still good, and Heliolisk is like the only mid-tier electric that has good coverage moves because Hidden Power isn't the worst snapped move for it in the entire world. Heliolisk gives me a U-turn, Volt Switch, and a good speed tier, which I really all needed. I think that was a great addition to the team. Again, really good for a mid-tier. It has great abilities for weather. Dry Skin and Solar Power are both great abilities. And I know Heliolisk is a very underrated mon. I've used it in the URL for a bit, even though that's my first ever league and I kind of died off. But I used Heliolisk a lot in that league, and I did like it quite a bit, and that was in Gen 6. So I think Heliolisk is going to be a good mon for the team. I say Heliolisk really weird just because I talk fast, and when you talk fast, it just sounds weird. I don't know. Anyway, that is our 6th pick. I did decide to pick up my electric type. I think it fits the team really well, and we're going to move on to our 7th pick now. And like I mentioned, I was also looking for a ground type. And the reason I did hold off on this was because I didn't initially realize it, but there are a lot of ground types around, and I could pick up almost any of them. There's one that I was really looking at that I really wanted, but if it went away, I could replace it. Luckily, we did end up getting it. It is Sandaconda. Sandaconda is a pretty interesting mon that I've never used before. It's kind of like a bootleg Hippowdon, but it has different options. Before we talk about different options, let's talk about what they both do. Put up rocks. It's another rocker. My only rocker at this point was Mega Aggron. I don't really want to force that to be running rocks every week, so Sandaconda gives me that other option. The difference is from Hippo is that it can Coil, Glare, and it has Shed Skin as an ability, which is pretty solid overall. And it has a few other coverage moves, perhaps. But the bad thing is that it doesn't have Recovery, it doesn't have Toxic, it doesn't have Royal Whirlwind, so like that stuff could be a little bit bad, but that's the reason Sandaconda was a lot less points than Hippo. Bidoof did mention that they wanted a ground type this round, and at that point I was just like, you gotta be kidding me, man. I know, again, if Sandaconda was gone, I could pick up something like Mudsdale or Donphan or whatever. They decided to pick up, I think, Donphan later on in the draft or something. I actually forget, to be completely honest. But there was just so many around. I'm happy we got Sandaconda, though, because that's the one I wanted the most. And it has a pretty solid speed tier. 71 is not a terrible speed for something that could be bulky or offensive, depending on how I want to run it. And because I've learned that having an offensive ground is really good, but having a defensive one is also nice. So having a mon that can do both is going to be pretty valuable for the team. That's our 7th pick, and luckily we're at the point now where I can't really get sniped too much because I have so many different things I can do with my draft. So we're finally past that point. We're 7 picks in. We have 5 more to go. And at this point in the draft, I just really want to fill in the holes that are missing on my team, which there still are quite a bit, namely Hazard Control and Speed. And while I do need to fill up a couple more types as well, so we're going to just kill 2 birds with 1 stone with this next pick. We got Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan is a fighting type, and I get removal, which are the 2 big selling points for me. Girder was really solid, and I really did want to get that, but I also wanted something a little bit more specially bulky at the same time, and that's why I went the Hitmonchan route in the end, just because it's a little bit more specially bulky, and it could be a good AV user, which is something I could see myself running a bit on this. Iron Fist is a great ability to have on a Pokemon just because it has so many punching moves, because, I mean, it's a Hitmonchan, come on. I know it's not the greatest mon in the entire world. I drafted Hitmontop last season and dropped it because I didn't really enjoy it. So I wanted to see if Hitmonchan would do any better. And I say enjoy it, I mean enjoy it in prep. I didn't even bring it. But Hitmonchan, we'll see how it goes in prep. I'm not sure if I'll even keep it, but having options for removal are very important. I don't want Mandibuzz to be limited to just defogging every week. So at least I could have Hitmonchan maybe spin or something like that, just to free up a move slot on Mandibuzz if it fits the team. So that was Hitmonchan, not really much else to talk about it. Next up, I'm going to end up fixing my speed tiers here. My team does not revenge kill fire types whatsoever, so I decided to pick up a rare Galadite thing and pick up an offensive water. Inteleon is what I picked up. This is the last starter of the Gala region that I need to try out this generation. I used Rillaboom in the APM Gala tournament and Cinderace in PTL. Now we have Inteleon. I'm sure I'll pick these up once the hidden abilities are released on all these three. But until then, we're going to stick with just Torrent Inteleon here. It wasn't that expensive, it was pretty cheap, so I decided to pick it up here. I needed it because it was a pivot, another one, and 120 speed, which I desperately needed. This entire draft, I just felt so uncomfortable because everything on my team is under 100 minus Heliolisk. And Heliolisk, while it's good, I think it's really good. I know it's not coming every week, so having a Mon just no one above a base 100 makes me freak out a bit. So finally we have that. This thing's move pool is not that great, to be honest, and that's why I'm not a big fan of it initially. But was it 125 to attack? It's pretty respectable here. Water Stab is something I really needed here for something offensive. A few priority options, and yeah, that is just Inteleon. I just needed the speed, really. That's the most important part about this. But now I cannot get completely destroyed by fire types, so that is also a big plus for this thing. Don't really have much else to say about it. I'm just going to see how my experience goes with it. I don't really know what to expect. I'm just going to wait till I use it. That is my 9th pick, I think, right? Yeah, we're counting, right? 9th pick here. We have 3 more to go, and our next pick is going to be a really interesting one. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that we did allow Dynamax in this season, and we have a Dynamax list that we put together. And there's only one poison type that isn't a part bug type that was on this list, and that is what I needed at this point. Dynamax Mons started going like flies right after I picked up my Inteleon. So at this point, only like 4 or 5 people need Dynamax Mons, and only one of them do not have a poison type. So I wasn't too concerned about being sniped. Luckily, we don't get sniped. We pick up Seviper for our Dynamax Mon. We are eligible to do that with this Mon. I felt like it was nice because I needed a grounded poison to absorb toxic spikes. Grassy Terrain really helps it out, so its ground weakness isn't that bad. The Dynamax allows it to at least take any hit, really, because you can really take a hit because of just how bulky you get because of it. Great coverage is something I was really looking forward to in a Dynamax Mon, because this thing could just hit you so hard with a super effective hit. And it can go on both sides. That's something that's really good as well. You don't know if I'm going to be physical or special. I can be a Swords Dance Coil set for a physical side, or I could just use Max Ooze to boost my special attack on the special side. So again, I could go either way with this Mon. I think that's really cool. It's not the greatest Dynamax Mon in the entire world. I am aware of that. We did allow some stupid stuff like Fear is going to be really good. Any flying type's going to be pretty solid. But at least in regards to fitting the team, I think Seviper fits this team pretty well. And I think it's going to be pretty good. Finally, it has Infiltrator as an ability, which is a phenomenal ability. You cannot sub this thing down because it will just go through your substitute, which is pretty cool. That is going to be Seviper. It's our Dynamax Mon. I could definitely see it coming at least once or twice in this season. I know in APM we had Dynamax Mons, but they were so bad to the point where I didn't really want to bring them. Here they are a little bit better, and we can run stuff like Choice Band, Life Orb on all of them. So they're going to be a lot more viable this season in PEBA as opposed to APM. So that's Seviper. That's our Dynamax Mon, and we only have 2 more picks left. So at this point, we have 16 points left for 2 picks. So we have still quite a bit left. And I don't have a fire type. And what the hell is a Galadite draft without a fire type? Because it just ain't a draft. I need a fire type on the team or I'll go crazy. I was looking at 2 of them, very different Mons. I was looking at Entei and Typhlosion. And I had a lot of excess points. And that's the sole reason I went with Entei in the end. Typhlosion is really good, though. It only does one thing, and that's Click Eruption, which is really good, but it's only one thing. As a fire type connoisseur, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think Entei's that great. It's not bad, but I don't think it's phenomenal. Like, there's a bunch of fire types I would choose over Entei. There weren't a crazy amount on the board left that really kind of fit the speed tier that I wanted. 100 speed tier was what I was going for, which makes my speed tiers look pretty nice overall there. That's pretty cool. I've never really struggled against Entei too much, though. I know Aquarius did beat me with it last season, the PEBA, but that was kind of more Azelf beating me than anything, and Entei cleaning up. And plus, I was going for Volcarona endgame, so that's kind of why that happened. But we'll see how it goes. Entei can go special, which is pretty cool. Its move pool's pretty shallow, but extreme speed is a nice trait to have. It has a decent amount of bulk, so it can kind of live hits, because fire type is not a bad type defensively. Very underrated typing defensively. So at least I'll have that option, and pressure is a good ability to have. I'm going to be annoying with pressure this season because I have Kyurem and Entei. That is that. It's just kind of a filler fire type because, again, in my draft needs a fire type or it won't be a draft. And we're down to our final pick. And our final pick unintentionally fell perfectly into place. I had 4 points left. I wasn't sure what I was going to get, but I did want something involving hazard control because I only have 2 rockers and 2 removers so far. And if I could get both, that would be phenomenal. But if I only get one, that's fine. Luckily, there is a mon that just costs 4 points. It's not a typing I don't have yet, and it does both. It's Armaldo. Armaldo is a bug and rock type, both of which I don't have. It both gets up rocks and spins, which is something I really needed. And it's just a really good mon to fit up on this team. I didn't plan on drafting it until I just saw it sitting there. I was like, wow, this fits pretty nicely. It's another physical attacker, and if you look at my team is really physical heavy compared to special heavy. Something I'm not really a big fan of. I'd rather have more special attackers than physical attackers, but it's something we are going to have to deal with throughout the season. We did snipe Elliot of this pick, so Pogger's there. This thing has pretty solid coverage. It gets knockoff, which is a good move to have, but again, it's mainly here just to spin and get rocks up, or either, depending. I can run boots, so I don't have to worry about the rock weakness. The typing is not great, but it's not bad, especially because it fits the team here. I think it'll be okay. That is Armaldo. I don't really have much else to say about it. It's our final pick in the draft, and that is the end of our draft for the PEBA of Season 4. So, to recap our PEBA Season 4 draft, it is a team consisting of Mega Aggron, Kyurem, Tapu Bulu, Slowking, Mandibuzz, Heliolisk, Sandaconda, Hitmonchan, Inteleon, Seviper that can Dynamax, Entei, and Armaldo. This team definitely has its flaws. It's a wee bit slow. It's got a lot of physical attackers, which is, again, not a big fan of, and the hazard control could be a little bit better. But it still looks like a pretty fun team. I feel like I built around Mega Aggron really solidly, and I feel like it's going to put in a lot of work this season. We'll see how it goes. We'll just see how we perform throughout. I'm excited because there's a lot of new mons. I haven't tried out many of these. I think I've only used Slowking, Mandibuzz, and Heliolisk. Yeah, those are the only 3 mons I've used so far on this team. So having 9 new mons to work with, it's going to be pretty fun. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. You guys can tell I'm pretty burnt out on recording, so I apologize. The energy level kind of died down a bit. So we're going to end off this recording here. Next week is week 1. We face off against Kenneth and his team. He was the wheel pick next to us. That's going to be next week's battle. One last thing, I do not know if this is going up today, Tuesday, or tomorrow on Wednesday, so you guys will get it whenever. So that is that. That's going to wrap it up for the video. Thank you guys for watching so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.